So sometimes you're just stuck and frustrated because you're not converting as many new clients as you want on your sales calls. And you know that something's not going right, but you just don't know what. So I am talking today with Antonella Dewell. She is someone that I know through some of my other coaching programs. I also work with coaches. And so I know Antonella from the coaching programs that I'm in other arenas. And she was talking about struggling with her sales calls and not getting the conversions that she wanted. So she and I set up a call and we had actually a really quick 30-45 minute coaching call. And this is the story of what happened for her. She saw from before our conversation to after that 30-45 minute conversation a very big shift in her sales conversion numbers. So I wanted to get her on a call and just chat with her a little bit so she could share her journey and what happened during our conversation and how she feels so different about sales conversations now versus before that coaching call. So I'd like you to meet Antonella Dewell. So, Antonella, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It's just wonderful to talk to you. We have met because you and I are actually in a couple of coaching programs
That's
together.
right.
So, right? So, yeah, so we we get to see each other probably a couple times a week. It seems like in the two groups that we're in together. So, that's how we met. But if you don't mind, do you mind just telling me a little bit more about your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a registered dietitian, and my passion is helping people who suffer from irritable bowel syndrome. And the way I help them is that I help them modify their diet and lifestyle in a way that really helps them find relief from these painful gut symptoms that they're experiencing on a daily basis, like bloating and pain and irregular bowel movements. That really affect the quality of life at the
Ah,
very end. And I take them through a process of really figuring out what are the foods that are triggering these painful gut symptoms, so that they can have more clarity about what they can or cannot eat, and how to navigate their diet, and you know have the ability to eat a variety of healthy foods, and navigate restaurants and eating socially a little better without being afraid of experiencing these sudden painful gut symptoms.
yeah, it's really an issue these days, isn't it? And it's something I think that has like is maybe I don't know if it's a slow development for people that they realize that they're dealing with these symptoms, but they're really in pain.
There
Really
are. They are.
struggling.
And the bottom line is this: they're suffering, with things
Yeah.
that you and I give for granted. We wake up, we have our breakfast, we just start working, we go about our day. They have, you know, to deal with this and actually move their life around their gut symptoms, because, if you in the middle of the afternoon you have this pain and you also have experience fatigue, you have to lie down and maybe with a hot water bottle on your stomach to just
Wow.
recover. So you have to interrupt your work, or you can be present with your kids, or
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
friends invite you out to dinner, you say you're excited, yes, and all of a sudden you feel really bad, and then you cancel at the last minute, and
Oh,
so
yeah. So it really affects people's lives,
yeah.
right? Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting. So you and I ended up having a conversation. It was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And that conversation evolved. It was a conversation about your sales calls because we were on a coaching call together, unrelated to sales, but it was on a coaching call. And I recall you saying something about you wanted to kind of figure out a way to handle your sales conversations a little
Yeah.
differently. Um, that it just was not going the way you were hoping it would. So you and I ended up connecting outside of that the other coaching programs and having a conversation about your sales calls. So I kind of want to ask you a little bit about that, like what you were struggling with, and then I know you shared with me you've seen some nice things happen since then. So just tell me a little bit of that story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've the sales call has always been a bit scary for me, and I've always been, entering it, with anxiety. Something I never like to do. And over the years, I've got some coaching. I've got a bit of a structure, and I've gotten a little bit better and more comfortable. But still, it's like that. Painful moment that's like I'm dreading, and
You're in good company, by the way.
good,
There's a
good
lot
to
of
know,
people
good to
that feel
know.
that way, so
It's
it's
like I've
okay.
never been that good salesperson. Like there's some people that seem to be really natural. Like my mom was one of those.
Yeah.
She could sell you something without making it feel like she will sell you something. She was
Yeah.
that, I wish I
I
got
was
it
not
that
that
way.
way, by the way, either. I was not that way. I had to learn it too. So.
Yeah, yeah. So, and the bottom line was that actually, I wasn't converting. I was having this conversation. I actually, sometimes I even felt I connected with people and that we were really on the same page and they understood the value of, how I could help them. But at the very end, I was either talking about the price of the program or the fact that they always left the call saying, well, I have to talk to my husband or my partner, or I have to think about it. And I left it sort of like this way, saying, sure, I'll follow up with you by email. Please let me know if you have any more questions. And it's like, it was, rare that I could close somebody on the call that they would be ready to start working with me. And so my conversion rate was pretty low. It's actually in the since the beginning of the year it's been around 20 to 25%,
Mhm.
which is not the way I would like it to be.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and again, I mean, I see a lot of people with conversion rates in that range. The amazing thing is, like, I mean, if you have so many calls per month or per week, if you can just increase that conversion rate, it totally changes your business, right? Like if
It
you can
does.
just figure out how to
It
make
does.
that
It does.
easier. I mean, you don't even have to have more calls. You just get better at the calls that you have,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked, it was probably only 30, 45 minutes. I don't know. I don't even think we
Yeah,
talked for
that
an
was like
hour.
a 30-minute call. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so we did a little troubleshooting on your, just talking through what was going on with your sales calls. And since that, I know you've applied some of the things that we talked about. So what's happened?
I did. I certainly did. I jumped right onto it. The first call I got after that. Let's see. And it was quite amazing. It was quite for once, um, I enter it in a different mindset. I'm really seeing this now as like, let's have a conversation. I really don't think about the sale. Let's have a conversation and let's see if the person, on the other end of the call is really somebody who I really can help. And if they're, ready to get my help, and I would actually enjoy working with. And the biggest difference I think that made was really the way I start the call. Already, although I already have, an agenda in mind that I always tell them about. Um, what you suggested was that I really ask them from the get go whether they are ready to make a change in their life.
Yeah.
And at first, I was a little bit anxious about this question because I didn't really know how they would react.
Yeah.
And the response has been amazing. Like people would go, yes, oh my God, I am ready for a change. And it was like escalates from them. It's sort of like they make that discovery right there with me. And so
Oh,
that
that's
leads to
amazing.
more questions about how much they're struggling, what impact it has on their life. And I'm better able to dig deeper on that. And another thing that you suggested was to really make them see the difference, the gap between the
Yes.
time when they were not suffering, or if 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 they can't even get to that point, because for some of my potential clients, they've been suffering with this basically their whole life. They don't
Yeah.
remember what it's like to feel good in their gut. So then I will ask them to think about what would they like to have in the future, like three
Yeah.
months from now. what would their life look like if things were ideal with their gut. And
Yeah.
so that's when I can again show them that gap between the way things are now and the way things could be for them.
And are they, and you're seeing with that then that they are making the decision, it's time or it's not time, right? So it's kind of clearer
It
for
is.
you to open up the door to saying, hey, I can help you if you're ready, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is because then they get to the point of telling me, really, I'm tired of this. I'm fed up with putting up with the symptoms. And that wasn't happening before. That
Yeah.
wasn't happening before.
It's funny. Sometimes there's these just little nuances that we can introduce into the
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
that shift everything. It's
Yeah.
really, it's really
Yeah.
interesting. I think personally, I think in my time of selling, I've seen that it's these nuances that actually make the biggest difference. So
Yeah,
what's,
it was just
yeah.
changing a couple of questions. I didn't quite, completely change the way I conduct the call,
Mhm,
but it's just, like you said, the nuances made
mhm.
allow me to dig deeper and really help them realize that, it's time to do something about it.
Yeah, and
Basically.
rather than live with the pain or having to get the water bottle in the
Yeah,
middle of the
yeah,
day when they're
yeah,
at work or wanting to play with their kids, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So what's happened with your sales conversion? You shared this with me before we got
Yeah,
onto this, but it
yeah,
makes me
yeah.
excited to hear.
Absolutely. And let me share one more thing though, because
Sure.
I think this is really key also. The other really great idea you gave me was to not finish the call talking about price. And I did see a big, a big change there too, because one of the biggest it's not objections as I mentioned earlier, was the fact that they couldn't make the decision right there and then they had to talk to their spouse, right?
Yeah.
And uh, um and I still say that's fine. Of course, you need to
Sure.
make these decisions together when you're married. um I asked them the question, well, what do you think your spouse will say?
Yeah.
And that's something that you suggested that I never thought about before. And that's like they sort of like their face lightens up and they say, of course my spouse is supportive. They know how much I'm suffering. I think they'll say yes. So, and even though they still want to talk to them about it, and
Sure.
so we don't close the sale on the call, then we finish the conversation again, then we go back to talking about what it would be like, if didn't have these symptoms. How would your life with your spouse change? How would it affect them too? Because this
Yes.
disorder doesn't just affect them personally, it affects their spouse, their family, because
Yeah.
all of those implications of how they really cannot impact the quality of their life. So that's leaving the conversation that way. I feel so much better, and takes away the focus of on the price, and again takes them back to what they could experience
Yeah,
in the
I was gonna
future.
say it's better for them too, right? The focus is on what they really are hoping to accomplish.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Not
that's
how much
awesome.
they're going to spend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Oh
So
gosh, that's so
yeah.
exciting. So fun to
And
hear.
so my conversion rate this month, well, actually, ever since I talked to you, skyrocketed up to 60%. And
See,
it
I
was
love
like
hearing that.
unbelievable.
I
Yeah.
do love hearing that. I will say when you told me that just before we got on the call, it makes me feel great because I do see a lot of people that I spend time with and coach double and tripling their conversion rates, which sounds crazy, but that is exactly what
Yeah. So I
this experience,
basically
right? Yeah, I mean,
tripled.
you're kind of
Yeah.
experiencing the same thing. And so, again, like we talked about at the beginning of the call, you don't have to start booking more calls. Now, of course, we all want to book more calls still too, but even if you can maintain that 50-60% conversion rate,
Yeah.
that changes your
Yeah.
business, right? Like you
It
start to
does.
implement these things on your future calls. And the thing I love about these nuances are that they last you a lifetime. Like Antonella,
Yeah.
you'll be able to use these thoughts for the rest of your lifetime that you are on sales calls, which is
Absolutely. Yeah,
so neat.
because I go back and look at those spreadsheets that I keep, and I see all of those people. And I actually feel bad. I feel like maybe there was a could have been something I could have told them to actually make a different decision, and I
Mm,
could have helped them by now.
yeah.
And I wasn't able to. So
There's always opportunity to follow up, right? You never know. Like that's part of the beauty of the journey as well. Like you can always circle back around and reach out and see if people are willing to hop back on a call again. You're
yeah, at a
you're
different time
you're
of
trying to serve people. Yeah, right. You're trying to
yeah,
serve people and help them.
yeah.
And that's when you come at the sales call from that perspective, it just shifts everything. And I think people really feel it. So I think that also contributes to the change in the conversion numbers, right? It
Mm-hmm.
The whole dynamic of the call changes when you're coming at it the way you are
Yes.
now, right?
Yeah,
And it
absolutely.
feels good to you, feels good to
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so exciting. So, yeah, I just, of course, it makes me feel great to hear this. I love to watch what happens with you. Your face lights up when you talk about it now, which is great. It's not quite the yucky selling that it used to feel like.
Yeah,
And, it makes a true difference to your business.
it
So,
does. It does. It
yeah,
does.
so I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where this goes for you with the rest of your future sales calls and your business. So,
Thank you, Jessie. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
grateful. Like I
oh,
said, a few little things that we've changed and boom,
yeah.
such a
Well,
difference.
it's exciting to watch and to see. So, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to serve you as well, Antonella. So it's fun.
Oh, it's
So, thank you.
you're very welcome. Thank you again.
Okay.